All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are diving deep into a story that is just wild. It's a mystery that gripped America for nearly 100 years. It's about a lost little boy, a reunion that seemed like a miracle, and a truth that stayed buried for generations. I want you to just think about this for a second. What if everything you thought you knew about yourself, your name, your family, your entire past, was all a lie, built on a giant, century-old mistake? That is the question at the absolute core of the Bobby Dunbar case.
So, our story kicks off way back in 1912. We're in the swamplands of Louisiana on what was supposed to be a totally normal family vacation.
Right, so on August 23, 1912, 4-year-old Bobby Dunbar just vanishes. One minute he's there at the family's campsite near Swayze Lake, the next, he's gone. And this wasn't just some small local search. No, this became a nationwide obsession. His family put up a reward of $6,000. To put that in perspective, that's like offering over $180,000 today. A huge amount. And for 8 long, agonizing months, nothing. Not a single trace of him.
And then, after all that time, a breakthrough. A boy matching Bobby's description was found. But as you're about to see, this was not the simple, happy ending everyone was hoping for. Not even close.
So the boy turns up in Mississippi. He's with this traveling handyman, a guy named William Cantwell Walters. Now, Walters swears the boy is named Bruce Anderson, and he's the son of a woman who worked for his family. He says, look, I had her permission to take him. But the authorities, they're not buying it. They get in touch with Bobby's parents, Leslie and Percy Dunbar.
Okay, now this is where things get really murky. Right from the get-go, the reunion, which you'd think would be this incredible moment, was just confusing. You had newspapers running headlines that were complete opposites. Some said the boy screamed "mother" and ran into her arms. Others quoted Leslie, Bobby's mom, saying she wasn't sure. The story was a mess from day one.
But the very next day, things change. After giving the boy a bath, Leslie Dunbar comes out and says, "Yes, it's him. I recognize his moles and scars. It's definitely my son." And with that, the public just explodes with joy. The boy is brought back to their hometown of Opelousas, Louisiana, and there's a massive parade. The whole town celebrates. As far as the world was concerned, Bobby Dunbar was finally home.
But the story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Just as one mother's desperate search came to an end, another one was just beginning, and it was about to challenge everything.
A woman named Julia Anderson comes forward, and her claim was simple, but absolutely devastating. She said the child the Dunbars just had a parade for was not their son, Bobby. It was her son, Bruce.
So who was Julia Anderson? She was an unmarried field hand who happened to work for William Walters' family, the handyman, remember? She was adamant that she had only let Walters take Bruce on a short trip, just for a couple of days to visit a relative. She said she never ever agreed to him being gone for months.
This whole thing just blows up into a massive custody battle. So on one side, you have the Dunbars. They've got their positive idea of the scars and moles, and they have overwhelming public opinion on their side. On the other side, you have Julia Anderson. She has her own claim, she's backed up by William Walters' story, and she even had people from her town of Poplarville, Mississippi, saying, yeah, we know that boy, that's Bruce. But, and this was a huge blow to her case, when the police put the boy in a lineup, she couldn't immediately pick him out. That really hurt her credibility.
And at the end of the day, Julia Anderson was a poor, unmarried woman. She just didn't have the money or the resources to fight a long court battle against the wealthy, well-respected Dunbar family. So the court ruled in favor of the Dunbars. The boy would be raised as Bobby Dunbar. And William Walters? He was convicted of kidnapping and sent to prison.
And just like that, the legal case was over. But the lives of every single person involved were changed forever. Decades flew by, and everyone went down their own, very different path. So the boy who was called Bobby grew up, got married, and had 4 kids of his own. William Walters, the handyman, actually had his conviction overturned after serving 2 years. And Julia Anderson, she settled down in Poplarville, remarried, had more kids, and apparently, until the day she died in 1940, she told them all about her lost son, Bruce. And then, decades pass. Everything's quiet until 1999, when a brand new chapter in this story begins.
You have to wonder what the man at the center of all this really thought. This quote is so telling. Apparently, one of his sons asked him once if he was sure he was really a Dunbar, and this was his answer. He'd built a life, a family, an entire identity, And for him, that was the only truth that mattered.
But for his granddaughter, a woman named Margaret Dunbar Cutright, those old unanswered questions, well, they were just too loud to ignore, and her search for the truth was about to rewrite her entire family's history.
So Margaret started digging. I mean, really digging. She went through old newspaper clippings, court records, even found the notes from William Walters' defense attorney. She said she started the project hoping to prove, once and for all, that her grandfather was a Dunbar. But the deeper she went, the more the inconsistencies just started piling up.
With all of this historical evidence pointing to a massive question mark, the family had to ask themselves, could this science of our time, of the 21st century, finally give them an answer that the courts back in 1913 couldn't?
So, in 2004, they decided to do it. They took a DNA sample from Bobby Dunbar Jr. That's the son of the man this whole mystery is about. And they compared it to a sample from his cousin, the son of Alonzo Dunbar, who would have been Bobby's uncle. If they were really related, the DNA would prove it. Simple as that.
The results came in, and they were crystal clear. There was zero genetic link between them. No relation. The boy who was raised and celebrated as Bobby Dunbar was not a Dunbar at all.
That one scientific fact sent shockwaves through generations of multiple families. It proved some people right, it shattered the reality of others, and it left one final, awful question hanging in the air.
So what does this all mean? Well, first, Julia Anderson had been telling the truth the entire time, which also means William Walters was innocent of kidnapping. This news, as you can imagine, brought an incredible sense of vindication to the Anderson and Walters families. But for the Dunbars, it was devastating. It challenged their entire family history, their identity, and it caused huge arguments and rifts between relatives.
And that is what is so brilliant and so haunting about this story. Solving one mystery just created another, much darker one. Because if the boy who came home was Bruce Anderson, then what happened to the real 4-year-old Bobby Dunbar, the little boy who disappeared from that lake in 1912? His fate remains a complete mystery to this very day.